Hi, we're back for session 2 of Coyote and Crow Cold Hunger in September 2022 for the Gauntlet. We are using a set of safety tools, which I covered in the first session, so I won't cover them again here. I don't think any of the lines and veils have changed. One thing I didn't mention is that we do all use the Gauntlet Code of Conduct when we are doing Gauntlet role-playing game sessions online. Just bear with me for one moment. I'm going to close the door. We have a group of 4 new recruits, Suyata. As we talked about last time, they are unusually powered. Only about 10% of people who have the Adnati happen to them actually successfully get those powers. And these Suyata are something similar to marshals. And we introduced them last time, so we are just going to jump right into the action. So with that, it's twilight and the forest around you is eerily silent. Only the crunch of the leaves under your feet is cutting through. Suddenly, you're nearly blinded by a bright light, a spotlight mounted to a modified drone. Enemies in front of you freeze and briefly, you freeze in their tracks, and you realize that you are being attacked by 3 drones and 3 raiders, purposely throwing you into this without any context. So I'm going to go, let's talk about combat. So everybody's got initiative. The first thing you do when combat happens is you choose your initiative score. Thanga has the highest initiative score. So Thanga has the opportunity, if wanted, to go first. Everybody else has an initiative score of 9. The idea of being able to choose it is if for some reason you want to rearrange who goes when. The enemies also have initiative scores. So given that Thanga's got the highest initiative score, do you want to go first? Do you want to choose a lower score? You guys can discuss this together if you want.
I'm happy to go first. I mean, if there's nobody else who wants to go first for...
Cool. So they hesitated. You are not surprised. Is there anybody, can we go in character keeper order? Or is there anybody who wants to go after Thanga?
It's fine.
Okay, cool. So Thanga, you got 3 raiders, each armed with war axes, and 3 drones that appear to have guns, appear to have mag slings attached to them. They do have spotlights shining on you, but they sort of froze for a moment as if they were surprised and they did not catch you off guard.
I think I will try to take out a drone with my mag bow.
Okay, awesome. So the way that combat works here, and let's pull up, unless you want to use offline dice, let's see if the room still works. That is in the safety tab on Roll With Me. And there was a point where I did save some rolls. I'm not sure that they actually stayed, but that's fine. You basically, what you do is you look at your skill and you roll those number of dice. And you said you're going to take them out. Can you tell me what that's going to look like?
I'm shooting at one of them with my mag bow.
Okay. So you've got a 7, right?
Yeah. So I
Cool.
roll 7
D12s. Yeah. Yeah, you can just do that. There may be a shortcut, easier way to do it. I think there is. If you do show custom dice form, you can type in 12 and then say quantity 7. Just makes it a little bit easier than having to click 7 times, but
yeah, I just type 7 D12 at the top.
Well, you know even better than I do. Oh my gosh, look at
I don't know how to do the other one. I know how to do
that.
that one.
Yeah, thank you. And you got an 11, a 5, 12. So a 12 is critical.
All right.
So let's think about that for 1 second. That's going to mean you're going to get to roll another die. In this case, you have 1, 2, 3. Let's roll one more die for that crit.
All right.
So it's another 11. So you've got 2 11s, a 12, and a 10 are all pretty high. You're pretty sure that you blew this thing away. What does that look like?
So I shoot at whichever one has a spotlight on me particularly. I hit it right, I guess, in the spotlight, and it sparks and falls down to the ground.
Nice. Goes through the spotlight, through the actual structure of the armor, and it is down. Next we have up Maliki.
Since if the drones have max things on them, if they're the first target for certain.
All right, tell me what that looks like. What are you going to do to these drones?
Only ranged weapon I have is max things, so
I'm
going to I'm going to just I mean, a game for the most prominent thing, probably the propulsion mechanism.
Awesome. All right, so 9d12. You've got crit.
I think that's shrapnel.
Yeah, so let's roll a crit just for the heck of it, but this thing is 3 11s, a 10, a 12, and a 9, so definitely gone. And a 6. So that one is shrapnel. And Tala, what do you do?
Really quickly.
Yep.
Is it possible to hack these drones?
You definitely can try to do that. Yeah.
Okay. Mark, if you're are you planning on doing anything with the drone?
I was gonna follow suit and hit it, but if you want to hack it, I'm more than happy to leave it for you.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's like seeing what everybody else is doing and how quickly the drones are going, and also seeing the tech of these drones. I want one intact. Yeah. So that's not trying to cut it on your turn or anything like that. Just
no, that's amazing. Yeah, I love it. What is the disposition of the raiders? Like where are we and where are they in relation to us?
Yeah, you're in the woods. There's trees between you and them, but they are within melee range, rushing you with war axes.
Is this a situation where I could sort of sidestep and vanish into the woods and get around behind them with stealth, or are they too? Okay, great. I'm going to try and do that, trying to get around behind them.
Okay,
with stealth, which I have 8 dice in for regular stealth.
Yeah, just don't use your urban stealth.
Yeah. So that's 8. Step behind. And what am I looking for number wise?
Let's see. You got 110, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So that is a success. The way it works here is anything above the success number, which if you guys don't mind too much, I may tell you sometimes I might not tell you. Anything above it is a success. And then the more successes you get, the more you just do the thing. Like you guys blew away the drone. You guys did more damage to the drone. If it was only one hit, you might not have blown it away. So yes, you have successfully hidden yourself from them. Just give me one moment here. Yeah, you've successfully hidden yourself behind a tree. Do you want to tell me a little bit more what that looks like? Given that it just wasn't the biggest success in the world, I'd say like, if they look for you, they'll find you pretty easily, but you're hidden.
Yeah. Yeah, I figure probably what it kind of looked like is it looked like I was rushing towards them at first, and then just sort of sidestepped, and like when they went that way, and I, looped back around the tree behind them. So yeah, if they turn around, they'll see me.
That's right. Yeah, you see them. Where did you go? So Anawa, they still haven't gone yet. What's your move?
I want that drone.
Okay, so you're gonna try to hack it. You want to tell me, put a little flavor into it. Feel free to paint the scene, make it up yourself. I'll tell you this. So everybody has a Nisi. So you have basically what looks like a computer on your arm, maybe like a flexible iPad on your
A
arm.
Pip-Boy.
And that's what everybody uses. Thank you. I knew it was something, right? Is that from Fallout?
Yep.
Yeah. So you've got those. So that's where you would be doing the hacking.
Okay. So yeah, I think what you see is like I've got my second eye, and I just like kind of flip that over, and I'm looking at it, and I'm tapping away on my wrist. And I'm like, come on, look, come home, little drone. Don't you want to be somebody who appreciates you and respects you and acknowledges your dronehood? Do you really want to be with the Raiders? Come on.
And as you do that, something weird happens where first, when you touch your second eye, you felt like your second eye did not feel right. And as you're hacking, you're feeling like there's a little bit of a lag. And this thing is coming back dead, as if there's no response, as if it's not really there. At that moment, the enemies in front of you freeze and everything blurs. And a box of text appears in front of you, and it says simulation ended. Priority messaging coming. Everything fades away. The message is automatically played. A young woman's voice speaking. Good morning.
Almost had it this time.
It's the baby talk, I tell you. It's just, I don't know.
Look, machines have souls. You just don't acknowledge it yet.
The machine in the machine does not have a soul.
When a machine talks to me in my head, then I'll acknowledge it.
And I'll look at Tall Owl. Just a look.
As you're talking and looking, the young woman's voice continues. Good morning, Koliso. Apologies for interrupting your training. The Council of 12 has sent a summons. Report to the council hall immediately. And at that point, you all know that you should take your second eye headsets off because you are in a simulation. Assuming that you do that, you see a large dirt circle marked by stones. The rest of your gear is off to the side. You pick it up and you gather, and you see a path to Cahokia. You were out in the woods training outside in a little bit more of a rural area. Cahokia is an enormous city. There's a path that just leads west. And you enter Cahokia, a bustling open city sprawling for miles. Assuming that you don't want to just hang out in the woods. Just do a little bit of railroading you into the opening. Brightly painted low buildings are constructed on earthen mounds. So everything, all of the buildings are on mounds of dirt. And there are low buildings, and then in the distance, there are 100-foot tall spires. There are Yutsu barges floating effortlessly just above the rooftops because wheels were not invented. Wheels were skipped over, as if you're playing like a game of Civilization and you made it past the technology track without going to wheels. And smaller sun wings, which are personal flight vehicles, zip around the sky. People are shopping, children are playing, and it's a little bit surreal that you've exited this simulated combat scene and are walking directly into just a regular shopping area. You head towards the receiving chamber, and it's at the top of a series of short, broad steps. The walls, just like many of the other buildings in Cahokia, are brightly painted, and there are patterns that are drawing your eye to, as you actually enter the building, there are patterns that lead you to the place that you're going. And there is a broad curved table where the council sits. The council is who you report to, and they are an ultimate authority that is trying to help maintain order across the 5 nations. There are representatives of the most powerful tribes and families, specifically in Cahokia, and they are all very accustomed to people being deferent to them. Who would be in front? Are you walking, all in one row, Reservoir Dog style? Are you paired up? What is this looking like? I'm going to start by asking Anawa, and then just going around. Is there anything that you are taking in or talking to anybody about as you head in there?
I noticed that my little sister has kind of fallen in behind us, trying to hide and not being especially good at it. Nia is not as good at this as Tala is.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Nia, she's 19 or so. Is that right?
I'm 19. Nia is, I think, 12, 13.
Oh, okay. She's got quite a mature profile picture on there. 12 or
Really
13.
quick, could we? Okay, I see. Could we put like our character names on our Zoom names?
Yeah, that's a great idea. So Nia, 12 or 13. Yeah, Nia says, does Nia have a nickname for you?
She probably just calls me Nah.
Nah, yeah. Nah, I got to talk to you.
Yeah. This is work. What is it?
There's these kids who were they invited me over. Can I go to their house?
I'm instantly suspicious and say, who are these kids?
She drops a name and you recognize it as one of Tala's friends, one of the network of young scoundrels that he taps for information.
And I say, absolutely not. Under no circumstances. You go home, practice your studies.
Okay, gotcha. So I'll only go there for an hour. See ya. She runs off.
And I'm just gonna, I close my eyes and just like pinch the bridge of my nose, like I'm trying to ward off a migraine.
Maybe I won't go. I'll let you know. And she points to her niece.
She only asks you so she can bait you.
It's been so hard since.
He's really cute.
And at this point, I'm just going to turn to Tala and say, you put the word out among your network. If any harm comes to her.
Oh yeah, I've already done that.
If any consequences happen, and most especially if any of the people in that group start trying to make her do more adult things, let them know that I will be coming for them.
Oh yeah, you right behind me.
Maybe it'll be good for her. Maybe spending some time with kids around her own age will help. Maybe this could be good. This could be good, right?
I would not classify my experience as a kid as good.
Tala, this is a time you can just say, please tell me it's going to be okay.
Oh, it's going to be okay.
Okay. See, I'm good. I'm good. Everything's okay.
Thanga, are you listening to any of this? What are you doing?
Yeah, he's listening to it. He doesn't really have a strong opinion on it. He's probably keeping an eye out for whether his mom is in the council chambers or whatever it is we're heading to. and is sort of
me
on
find,
edge about that.
let me
Mhm.
find out, Thanga. I'm gonna tap my earpiece. Busy. You on? Schedule says you're on.
Can you just explain who this is? Is this Mizzy?
This is Mrs. Taka.
Milwaukee's girlfriend, right?
Yes.
Uh,
Missy, you on?
Is Mizutaka, she's sharp tongued. Is she affectionate with Milwaukee?
Yes, but there's a high snark component.
Oh, it's you, honey. Just it's
She
not
likes-
even it's not even and mentions whatever the time is. You're already contacting me. Gonna be a long day.
I just wanted to oh, you're on now, right? So
Mhm.
is Sakazi on council right now?
No.
Thank God. I shake my head at Thanga.
Thanks. And Thanga visibly relaxes.
So do you know what this thing is going down? We just got yanked.
Oh yeah. Yeah, so just so I get some information, can you introduce Mizutaka to everyone here?
Sure. Mizutaka is an older Suyata, although she's a communications specialist. She goes out in the field. She used to go out in the field. She does still does so sometimes, but mostly she's there to coordinate responses. She's wired in much of the time. I think she's incredibly beautiful and super cool. And I have no idea why she likes me.
And can you
She's
expl-
self-possessed. She could pretty much, back in school, she could have anybody she wanted to. And she came over and, basically did the lunchroom equivalent to it as this seat taken, and I was speechless.
Aw.
Um,
Can you explain what comm specialist means, just in case I want to drop in something?
she is she's basically information specialist, wired in, coordinates actions between teams.
Yeah.
In militarily, she's basically a tactical specialist. She'd be in part of high speed military communications.
Yeah, so she-
coordinating things for the CS, and otherwise she's basically there to keep teams briefed, to make sure that they're hooked into the to the higher ups where communications need be. She buffers a lot of the communication between the council and the Suyata, I imagine.
Got it. Yeah, Mizzy says, yeah, this is pretty, it's getting really spicy. You should hustle in there, but there's a team that hasn't been replying back in weeks. And that's
shit.
all I know. I assume that's what you guys are going in there for. Shit.
What's going on?
Just hurry up. I'm just not going to be able to see you for a little while.
Fuck, you kidding? Ugh. Where are they sending us to this time? The Northwest?
I just know it's the frozen north. That's all I know. I don't know exactly where it is.
Oh, good. All right, guys. Evidently, they're kind of on fire to see us. We better get our butts in there. Missy says hi.
Was there anything that Thanga was doing? We did a little cutscene in there, but I just wanted to make sure. Was there anything that you were doing or thinking? You were thinking about your mom. You just got confirmation your mom is not there.
Yeah.
How's Thanga reacting to that?
He's more relaxed about that because he feels like it's a little bit of pressure off of him, and then he can focus more on doing the job rather than her expectations, everybody else's expectations about him because she's there and related to him, and it's just one fewer things for him to think about, or
A little more
lot of
relaxed.
fewer things. Yeah.
Awesome. Okay. So yeah, you make it up the steps and you enter a room. All of the colorful paint goes into the room and the doors close behind you, and there is a swirl of paint behind the person at the head of the table. Arenia, a gray-haired counselor. They have taut dark skin and piercing eyes and address you. Thank you for coming promptly. I understand that this is your first mission. Congratulations on joining the ranks of the Suyata. Your service is appreciated.
You honor us, Elder. I say, making appropriate signs.
There may be a problem at one of our northern stations. We are sending your team to investigate. Not glamorous, but prove yourselves and more opportunities will come.
What kind of problem?
Station 54, an atmospheric research station, stopped sending communications. The nearest community, Sakitawak, reports that the scientists stationed there have not been seen in 3 weeks. The mission details have been sent to your Nisi. Submit your reports when the mission is complete. Prosperous journey.
Where the hell is 54?
As you start to process all of this, the doors swing open and a political delegation enters as if the next thing is about to happen. Their Nisi all display messages and they're looking at them, and they look at you and they're about to sit down. Your Nisi say, travel to station 54 and determine why communication has stopped, investigating it to see if a crime has been committed. You can use authorized force if necessary. It also says proceed cautiously if investigating in Sakitawak. It's an independent community far north, not subject to the council. There's a map of the area and a brief data sheet on the 3 scientists stationed there. You're now effectively flushed out, and there are little eddies in the, in the hall that you can go to, little tables that you can sit at. Again, you have a brief data sheet on the 3 scientists and a map and Nisi, which are effectively the internet, and you have secure access. You understand that a barge will be leaving for the north in a couple of hours. What would you like to do right now?
Double check that I have a good coat.
So I will start with, I'll start with you, Malaki, though I will go around a couple times because you guys might inspire each other for other ideas. Just high level, what are you thinking about doing now? Let's go from one to the next in case you guys want to, change what you're thinking before you dive deep.
We're going to freeze our butts off.
Yeah.
Station 54. Look at this. I say, popping up the map.
So yeah, if you go to the map that says Sakitawak, that's on the Google sheet.
Why does anybody live up there?
You can
Don't they
see
realize that there are warmer
station.
places in the world? It's
Right.
the world. The world's a big place. We don't have to live where our ancestors lived anymore.
You intuitively know that Satikawak is at least going to require a barge ride and probably walking for a while, because there's only so much technology up there, especially because it can't take advantage of everything that the council and the 5 nations have. I'm going to just move around. Again, we'll do this a couple times in case anybody triggers anybody else's thoughts. Tala is doing what?
I think Tal's priorities are getting detailed maps of the area, the city, and the station, and seeing if I have any contacts up there.
Okay, I'm gonna write that down. Area, city, station, and contacts. What about you, Anawa? What are you doing?
Trying to grab Kit, because I don't know exactly what we're going to be coming into up there. So I want to make sure that we're prepared for, say, medical emergencies in the field.
Awesome. Thanga?
Skimming the bios on the scientists and then looking up who's important in Sakatuak and, sort of who we might be dealing with.
So is it fair to say that Tala and Thanga, you're doing similar enough stuff that we could combine efforts, combine roles, or would you like to granularly do separate things from each other?
I'm okay joining up if you are.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
I think I'm just going to flip through the cultural entries and look for any idiosyncrasies of language or culture that we should know. Everybody's got different greeting customs. And we don't want to piss anybody off before we take 3 steps there.
That is a good idea. And Anawa, along with you have a chance to do a few things here. Would you like to help with this research effort, or do you want to spend more time making/grabbing stuff?
With my computer skills, I can probably at least get a bunch of data fairly quickly for people to look through.
Yeah.
Or write some sort of bot to help them sift through data to see what will be more useful, or grab more stuff automatically, something along those lines. So I almost feel like that should just be programming.
Got it. Yes. So even before you do programming, you of course can use their version of Google just to start and see how far you get. Is that okay, or would you like to jump right in to programming?
Let me ask this: in the sort of turn taking that we're doing, is it going to take additional time to do the Google search and then do the programming? Because if so,
we have enough time to do all this stuff.
Okay, if people want to look around on the equivalent of Google, sure, go ahead. I mean, they can do that while I'm starting to write code. While I'm starting to code.
Sweet. Okay, so if we take a look at your stats, there's a basic computer stat which you can just use for searching. There's trying to think about your question, Milwaukee, about culture. It's funny, I saw
religion will do.
Religion, yes. There you go. That's exactly what it would be. So how about we do this just to go in character keeper order and then summarize everything we've got. So why don't you roll religion? Okay. And I'm just going to keep track of all this. So we've got religion. That was 60-12. And of that, we got a 10 and a 7 are the high numbers. Okay.
No.
Sorry, I'm looking at Tala's old roll. My bad. Sorry about that.
I got 3 8s. That's what I got.
3 8s and 2 6s. Okay. Yep, that looks good. You're feeling pretty familiar. Let's wait a moment before I fill everything in. How about Tala? Would you like to roll a basic computer skill? Do you have anything else that you think is relevant?
Maybe investigation. See if any of my folks are there, or if any of my folks know folks there.
Yeah.
Is that appropriate?
Yeah, just give me 1 second.
Yeah.
My familiarity with I have a feeling that's anybody
It'll be-
listening to this for the first time. We are playing this game for the first time. So
I
there's
think it'll
a lot to
be
learn.
6 dice either way. So
Oh, 6 dice either way. Yeah.
yeah.
Where did this thing go? The rule book seems to have disappeared off screen. Gonna close it and open it again. Okay. Okay, I think I'm a little
Ooh,
bit.
that's pretty good. I got 10, 11, 11, 12.
Oh boy.
Yeah. It's a lot of good stuff.
So here, let me just give you a sense. Yeah, investigation is going to let you understand meanings and implications from what you sense or detect
Okay, cool.
around you. Yeah, so you got.
So that'll be like computer skill. Yeah.
Yeah, so you got 11. Okay, so let's roll another crit there for that. I roll another die for that crit. Right, 12.
A 2.
Okay. And do you want to tell me what that's looking like when you are doing this computer? Like, what kinds of things are you thinking about?
Yeah, I'm probably starting off by just like sending messages to folks I trust nearby, asking them if they know anyone, and then doing whatever follow-up research on those, either through public records, police records, whatever sort of gray databases I have access to.
Mm-hmm. Perfect. All right, so we got culture, we got contacts, and you Thanga wanted to skim through the bios of the scientists and go through the materials. Is that about right?
Yep.
Okay, so as you're going through, okay, so for you to make heads or tails of this, let's have you if it's okay with you, Anawa, to as you're talking to Thanga, I'd say Thanga, you take a look at some of the materials related to the bios and the station, and they're a little bit outside of your depth in terms of scientific understanding. You may have a chance to take a look at something else as well, but we've got somebody who's got a lot of science and knowledge. So I'd probably defer that over if Anawa can make a roll, either a technology role or a science role, which look like they're the same.
Yeah. As far as I know, they're the same.
Yeah, they're 7s.
Okay. So I just roll 7d12.
Yeah. Thanga, if you don't mind me assuming that you might lean over to Anawa and saying, hey, can you help me with this?
Yeah, definitely.
There's 110.
All right, you got a 10 and 2 6s. Okay. 10. And then I was trying to think if there was something in particular. So Thanga, you can definitely read. It's funny, they read the bios and go through, and let's see what do you have here. All right, you've got computers. So why don't you roll 4 for computers?
Sure. D12, not D6.
Ooh, that's nice. 3 11s and an 8. Okay. So if it's okay with you all for me to just tell you in sum total what you learned as a result of this. Let's see, let's call this. Okay, so you learned that the Sakatawak is further north and there is no direct flight there, but you can go north and then walk there. It's a population of 70. The chief export is lead. The town is outside the range, like I said, of the barges. Oh, and it's also outside the range of DASO, which I believe is your equivalent of cell phones. Just double check that. Why are my searches thwarting me today in this document? Okay.
If it's outside the range of cell phones, so that also means we'd be disconnected from the network and our NICs wouldn't be working?
Yes, actually, the NICI is the device, the DASO is the World Wide Web. So communication drones are sent south for electronic communications. So basically, communication is going to be slower. It looks like drones go south. You communicate with a drone, and then they take it south, and then they send those packets out, as opposed to having instantaneous communication. There's heavy snow expected in the next week. And let's see, there's 1, 5. And you know that the 70 people who are in the village have limited printing resources. Specifically, Milwaukee knows that it's customary to refuse an offer 3 times before accepting. So he learns that cultural detail about Sakatawak. And then in addition to this, the Station 54 is listed as a critical climate data facility. However, the lead scientist at the station is named Yanaba, and they're trained in geology, not climate science. In addition to that, it seems like the climate data is sent from the station every 10 days, like clockwork. But it seems to be sent without analysis, which is unusual for a station like this. And that's what you got.
And basically they stopped sending data. Is that the reason we are investigating?
They stopped sending it for 3 weeks.
Got it.
Yep. All right.
How far from the town is the station?
Yeah, so it's Sakatawak is a village a few miles from Station 54 that you would take by foot. And there's a barge that will take you to a town called Antiwa. And from Antiwa, you can take a break there after the long ride and then walk to Sakatawak. So barge, Antiwa, Sakatawak, Station 54. So it's the top of the hour. when we come back from the break, let's think about what you're going to do for a couple hours. You've done some research that only took you about half an hour max. If you want to continue to do any kind of data mining and programming, that's totally cool. Just tell us a little bit about what that looks like. For Anawa, perhaps you'll get a little bit more information. I don't know if that included hacking any kind of systems. But beyond that, you know, are you going to talk to your loved ones? You're going to the frozen north for a little while. Are you going to work on your side projects? There'll be like a little scene for everybody to describe what they're doing, and then you will depart. So it's the first break. We're going to take a break every hour. Let's take a break for 10 minutes. See you 10 after the hour. Okay, so we're back from a short break. Let's go around and talk about who is doing what during their 2 hours. Why don't we start with Anawa, and we'll go in character keeper order, given Anawa was thinking about potentially doing a little bit of hacking or more information gathering, if I'm not forcing that upon you.
Yeah. I feel like there's more data here that we're not getting. Like, this feels like we've got several pieces of a puzzle, enough that we can tell that there's more, and those pieces are missing. So I think I just want to write a daemon to kind of go through everything and spit out some useful information. Like, try to take all this data and tell us what we're looking at, including why is a geologist in charge of a climate station?
Right. Exactly. So the question is, I guess, what kinds of systems are you trying to hack at this point?
Is it too much to say anything that I think will give us any kind of useful data?
So I don't want to be disappointing, just that the place that probably has the useful data is probably the government data.
Okay.
And you work for the government. So
are you saying it's unlikely we'll get anything more than we already have?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Totally fair.
And it might just throw flags as you're doing something untoward.
In that case, I'm just kind of shrug, and what we know about this location is that it's remote. You mentioned that they don't have a lot of printers and limited printing resources. So pretty much anything we're going to need is something we need to carry in.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm looking at, it's if you want to go to somebody else, that I'm totally okay with that, because I'm literally like neck deep in, well, not literally neck deep, and it's a PDF. But I'm digging through the kits that we have available to us to see what we might be able to take, what we can carry, and what we just are not going to have access to. Like, for example, can we carry personal GATs with us?
Personal GATs?
Yes. Okay, so we can take something like a personal GAT in, we can take kits in, like, medical kits or ceremonial kits, that sort of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Is there any limit that you want to put on us as to how much stuff we can take with? Like, one kit per person or something like that? Or
yeah, that's a good question. I mean, I wish that I knew all of the weights, for example. I don't know how much I see anything about encumbrance in here, but I also may not have looked closely enough.
Right.
So let's, you said you were in the middle of it. I'm wondering, let's see.
It's page 225 in the book. In terms of the PDF, it's on, I'm looking around page 233, I think, is where the kit stuff starts.
Yeah. Let's see.
And I'm totally fine with just like doing this in the background while other people like do stuff, because like getting bogged down in like lists of gear is,
So totally. I mean, the definition, which is helpful, at least for me, is a basic kit can be carried over the shoulder in a small backpack, while an advanced toolkit takes up multiple cabinets and storage.
Right.
So Now here's the whole math of how does cost rank equate to quality? We could just, unless somebody knows the answer, we could just house rule it. Let's see.
House ruling, it makes sense so we can get back to playing.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm assuming that a kit is going to give us, at least for a ceremonial kit, there was the chance, yeah, for the standard ceremonial kit, having a ceremonial kit reduces success number by 1. Not having one adds 4 to the success number. So it's kind of almost like a prerequisite for ceremonial. It looks like a similar thing. Basically, the standard kit is going to reduce success number by 1. So
Right.
an advanced kit. So let's just assume since it has to go over your shoulder, it's going to be, a basic kit. You're going to get a +1 bonus. And you got 2 shoulders. So if you want to carry 2, you could, but it's going to be intense because you're walking for a few days. To go from the North Station to Ottawa, you're going to be actually walking for, if not overnight, at least for a whole day.
Okay.
1 to 2. So yeah, let's go to the next person, and you can continue to think about that. That would be Thanga. What are you doing in the time that you have before getting on the Yutsu barge?
He's probably gonna drop by his mom's office because he's excited about his first mission as a real Suyata, and since he's gonna be out of the city for a while, wants to say bye, and he'll also ask if she has any information about the station or any anything, any more details, like why we're going up there now versus, because they missed 2 reports at least, it sounds like.
It's very cold up there. Make sure you bring something warm. Well, the drone could have been just lost the first time. And the second time, the drone could have just been lost twice, but 3 times? I always thought 3 was an unlucky number. What can I help you with? Have you finished all your survival training?
Yeah, I mean, I've been through the basic training, like that's why I'm getting sent on a mission now.
Yeah, but you never went through the survival. You did all the shooting and you're so charming, but when it comes to climbing up an icy wall, are you really going to be able to do that?
I'm sure I'll be fine. There's a path there.
That's true.
We're not camping.
You do remember that 700 years ago, there was a global disastrous climactic event that created an enormous wall of ice, don't you?
Yeah, but that was 700 years ago, Mom.
How long do you think it took for that? How long do you think it's going to take for it to melt? More than 700 years. I mean, you really have not, you didn't even like to camp when you were a kid.
No, I
Bring a survival kit.
Yes, I will.
Bring some extra dry rations.
Yeah, I'll be prepared. I'll stay warm and bring food
And then she hands you I'm trying to think if the second eyes. Yeah, so she hands you something and she says, I'm just trying to think, you because you have her as a gift, right?
Yeah, I have a level 1.
So she hands you something that looks like a disc that you've realized could fit into your second eyes. She says, you have to bring this back. This is a prototype, but this will give you heat vision.
All right, that sounds useful. Thank you. I'll make sure I use it, and I'll bring it back. I won't get eaten by a bear or whatever.
Yeah, I mean, I'm almost tempted to take it back from you now. That thing cost.
No,
Okay.
I'll be fine.
Yeah, I really don't know what was going on up there. It was just a weather station, but it is a little suspicious.
Yeah, one of my teammates said that it seemed a little weird who's in charge, and that something doesn't quite add up with the personnel.
Listen, this is your first mission. You don't want to ruffle any feathers, okay? Like, I mean, I didn't get here to where I was by questioning the people above me. Just go there, figure out what happened, and come back.
Yeah, I'll do that.
Don't go digging.
All right. I'll be careful.
And when you get to Anawa, you should be the one to say hello to everyone. I mean, you or that charming Mawaki.
Yeah.
Is
yeah.
Mawaki single?
No, he has a girl. I think.
She has a girl.
She has a girl.
Sorry.
Um,
Oh, well, maybe you'll make an impression on Milwaukee while you're there.
I think I'll focus on the mission while I'm there.
Okay. The two of you could
Need to
walk
get
in
this
and
right.
charm anyone. I'm so sorry I interrupted you. What was that?
I need to make sure I, succeed on my first mission. I don't want to get distracted by Milwaukee or anybody else.
Okay. Well, is there anything else I can help you with? Because I am about to go into a meeting.
Not unless you know anything more about the station and why they're doing what or who might be interested in it.
Oh, no, I don't. Come on. I was talking
Okay.
about a hug, and then she gives you a hug
Okay,
and says,
yeah.
okay, I need you to, I have your Nisi. Contact me if you need to.
Yeah, there won't be internet there.
No, I mean in the
It's
next
something with droids.
hour.
Yeah.
So make sure you get on that YouTube.
I'll let you know when I'm on the barge. Don't worry.
Okay. Is there anything else that you want to cover before?
No, that's
All right. And so she made a point about having survival gear. I assume you're going to do something like you can always throw it out when you're there. You don't have to know it off the top of your head. Okay. Milwaukee. What is Milwaukee doing for the next couple hours?
Just making sure I don't forget everything. I don't want to get caught up short and realize after we're on our way there that I left something behind. Oh, and I wanted to ask Konawa if she'd bring a drone or two. So I sent her a message.
Let's pause on that for one moment. While Anna was thinking about all the gear they have, if that's okay with you, I just had a question. Do you talk to any of your family, like your?
My mother's going to find it. I don't have a choice in that one.
So your mother finds you.
My mother's a level 2 burden. She's not going to let me go without calling me in.
So when you show up at your house to get the stuff that you don't want to have, she is there, and even before you even really enter, she's asking if you can let's see, she is asking if you can help a family member with some spiritual healing this weekend.
Now?
Yes, this is your uncle. My brother, he has troubles.
Mother, he has had troubles for the last 7 years and change. They're not going to suddenly get bad this weekend, besides which I've been ordered out. This is my first mission.
You're going on a mission?
Yes, yes, I am going on a mission.
Hmm.
I know that surprises I know that surprises you.
Yeah, I just thought that they, I thought you would be just staying back at the base, helping people who come back with post-traumatic stress disorder.
I didn't formulate the orders.
Hmm.
You're sending
Okay.
us up to some flashback northern village. I really don't know very much about it.
Hmm. So she, does a little bit more of that unpleasant, backhanded stuff, and
I'll try not to disgrace your mother.
no, I'm sure you won't disgrace us.
You know by now that that you can't really lie to me, right?
Mhm.
You're not sure of any such thing.
What does your mother do? Has your mother had a job, or
My mother's a tribal leader
the tribal leader? Oh my gosh.
and a leader. She's so
Yep.
she's a member of the council in some regards. She's a
Mhm.
politician.
Yeah. And she is
Involved
just a
in
burden.
important trade matters and things like that. She's just a burden.
Got it. Well, are you sure that these people that you're seeking, are you sure that they're even alive?
No. All the more reason why we should find out.
So yeah, you should be able to talk to them. I mean, I'm sure that this is going to be no problem for you to just find their spirits and talk to them.
If they're dead.
Well,
and if they are dead, the question is, why hasn't anybody reported it? I don't know.
Mhm.
Anyway, we're not supposed to talk about it, not even to our mothers.
I've been waiting for, the moment when you would leave us and you would prioritize the Suyata above your own tribe. I've been waiting for this moment.
Well, then you're waiting is then you need wait no longer. Your long awaited vigil is rewarded.
Right. Well, that's why I've been grooming this other spiritual healer who may just have to step up and have more seniority.
I'm sure
unless
they
you
will.
can come back quickly enough to be able to help us this weekend.
I am not coming back this weekend.
Well, I suppose he can wait another day, but if you're not back to
No, we
help,
better line up the
your
other one.
standing in the tribe is going to suffer.
Then it'll suffer.
And if you're okay with that, she probably spins out and leaves.
Yes.
Okay. Any pillows you want to scream into, or is there anything you want to
I'm
gather?
just packing with unnecessary vehemence.
Okay. So did we, and then Tala, what are you doing in this next couple hours?
It might be a good idea to, so I added an NPC for my unsavory creditor, Nizizi. It might be a good idea to visit her and let her know that I'm going out of town on a job and not skipping town.
Great.
I think
All
I'm gonna
right,
do that.
So give me a sense. We're in a big city with mounds, tall spires. You've got Nizi. We're talking to Nizizi. But the pep boy that you've got, are you going to talk to her on that? Or are you going to find her in person?
I think it has to be an in-person conversation.
And it's still, it's afternoon, it's relatively bright outside, but when you go into those unsavory areas where you still feel like it's dark in there, even though it's daylight outside, not as crowded, but still has that smell Where are you going? Where is Nazizi? And is she in a? Is this she?
Yeah, so she I think she fronts a club in the whatever unsavory district that is. For front for whatever activity she has. Probably kind of has a back office there and holds court otherwise.
Okay. Yeah. So she is in her office, and you walk back there. It's not very crowded. The person standing in the front nods you that way. Zizi sees you and says, "Finally, what do you have for me?"
I probably do have an interest payment to bring in that doesn't cover anything, but just like, look, I'm with the Suyata now, so I have to do what they say, and my first job is in some dinky village up north, so I'm gonna be out of town for a few days, a few weeks, I'm not sure, but I just wanted to let you know that I'm not running from you. I intend to repay my debts. I'll be back.
Yeah, I mean, I know you'll be back. Here's what I need. You work with somebody named Thanga.
Yeah.
Have you heard of Suzaki? Sikazi? Thanga's
Sikazi.
mother?
Yeah, talks about her all the time.
Yeah, Thanga's mother has access to things that I need.
Yeah, she has all sorts of access.
Let's see what you can find on her or get from her. Try to get to know Tala a little bit. Let's see what buttons we can push. She is by the book. Fucking pain in the ass. If we're going to see any change in the Suyata and get any wedge in there, I need some leverage.
I will see what I can do.
And then she hands you a purple hexagonal gem, and says, I just need you to hang on to this for me while you're traveling.
What is it?
I will make sure that I know where you are.
Good.
Just for your safety. Thanks for coming by. We should do this more.
We probably will.
See you soon. Anything else that Tala is doing?
I think not immediately, no.
Okay, so with that, if everybody is comfortable, possibly feeling like, if they have to remember a thing that they brought with them that's reasonable on the way, I'd rather just think of it in the moment than plan out a huge list. However, I would also, really appreciate if, especially since we're all getting to know the game and it will be a little bit crunchier, Anawa was looking into some gear. I just don't want it to feel like that is the be all and end all if we realize that there's something we missed out of our own ignorance. Anawa, what did Anawa come up with?
Excuse me. So as I went through all this stuff, I was also reading the rules about sizes, that sort of thing. A lot of these things are supposedly the size of like a larger purse or a small backpack. There's small charging stations to recharge devices, which seems like something we're going to need. personal GAT, at least one or two, just to take with us. I know I want to have a surgical kit on hand and a hack rig. Brandon, you mentioned something about a drone. Chris, I have an idea about that if you're interested.
Yeah. By the way, just for anybody who doesn't know, GAT is a 3D printer.
Yeah.
A very good 3D printer. Sorry, go ahead.
Okay, so, and this kind of involves Mark, if you want to weigh in on this, but a military drone is wealth rank 5. But I was thinking that if we did that, we could actually take Wayera with us.
Mm,
take
Interesting.
the AI.
Yeah, put the AI in a military drone. I mean, there's what could go wrong?
Oof. Yeah, nothing could go wrong there.
I mean,
This
that's
is-
just good planning right there.
Yeah, so I'm open to that idea. However, you don't have a military drone.
Okay. What about a regular drone?
Regular drone you could get, yeah.
Okay. So that answers the question for Brandon about can we bring a drone with us, and also gives you something fun to play with.
Well, we're gonna have
Because-
to role play for a second. You're putting the Wayara into the drone because that's it's not plug and play, I don't think.
Well, I probably called Tala to come help.
Yeah.
I don't know if Tala's into that. I think she's just like, why would you want to let it know where we are? It's already bad enough.
And you-
Look, it's just curious, Tala. And don't forget your cybernetics kit in case I need to work on you.
Yeah.
But look, Milwaukee wants us to have a drone, right?
Mhm.
Now, if Wayera is willing to help us, that means we wouldn't have to be running the drone. You know, we might get more interesting information that way. You know, Wayera might see things that we couldn't.
I have a bad feeling about this. This is, you saw what it did to me, right? This is,
It
you
did.
trust.
It only
I
did
don't-
those things because it didn't know.
What else doesn't it know?
Well, I can tell you what it will continue to not know unless it learns, and that's pretty much everything.
I'm happy to let it learn in a safer, not just for us, but we don't know what we're going into up there, or I don't feel comfortable exposing someone else to what happened to me.
Look, Wayera learned, right? I mean, what happened to you was awful, but think about it. It's Wayera was basically the equivalent of a toddler at that time in terms of its development. You know, Wayera's learned so much now that I realize it's risky, but progress never comes without taking a few calculated risks. And we're going into a situation that we don't know. I mean, we know very little about. I know it's weird. Why would you have a geologist on a climate station? That doesn't make any sense. This is why I'm thinking Wayera might help us, because maybe Wayera can get into the systems and do a data dump or something like that in a way that I couldn't.
If I go along with it, I'm gonna need to ask you a favor.
You always ask me favors. When do I say no?
I pull out the gem that I got from my friend and say, what can you tell me about this and how it works?
I feel like that's probably a role, Chris. Does that seem like a role to you?
Yeah.
Okay. What should I roll with?
Yeah, this would be technology.
All right. So
Oh, well, you've got actually you've got crafting. This
Mhm.
is more of a custom item, so it's gonna be the same roll anyway, but I roll with crafting technology.
okay, so that's I'm rolling with what, 6 or 7 dice here because I see 6/7.
Oh, the 6 is for crafting, the technology specialization is 7, so 7.
All righty. 7d12 again. There's a 12, and a 10, 9, and 8, and 2 7s.
Okay, so I'm gonna need you to roll that 12.
All righty. So am I rolling 1d12 here, or
Yeah, 1d12.
that gets me a 4?
Okay, so I didn't give you the success numbers before. I'll tell you on average the success numbers that I believe Coyote and Crow suggests for like a regular thing is 8. I may be misremembering it, but that's what I was using before. The success number here is higher because this is a custom piece of tech. So I'll tell you, you got 1 success. So you know that this is a tracking device.
And I will relay that information to Tala. Say, take it somebody, is this something that you want to put on somebody? Is this something that somebody gave to you?
This is something that someone gave to me, and I'm more than happy to let them know where I am while we're up north doing who knows what. But when we come back, maybe we'll look at playing around with it a little bit and seeing if we can get it to do what we want instead.
I mean, there's no reason not to do that now. We've got some time.
I think maybe having someone knowing where I am up there is going to be a good thing. So I'm going to keep it for now.
And just to jump in for 1 second, a couple things. Mark, I know you got a lot of pressure put on you in that situation. Normally, I would have said, how do you feel about that? Is that fair? Do you feel okay about that?
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Okay. Brandon, same thing with your mom. You feel okay about that pressure? Okay, because those in particular. The thing I would say is your time is running out.
Yeah.
And in addition to that, Anawa was saying some things about the AI that the 3 of us, the 5 of us have not all necessarily synced up on exactly what the AI is, but from my read and the way that I would describe the AI is still a mystery. Could be a spirit, could be another, a hacker, right? Who knows what exactly it is. So I'm just saying, is Anawa intentionally enthusiastically believing it is an AI because they want to, or because you're trying to assert that it's necessarily an AI or an alien? Do you know what I'm saying?
I'm using that terminology as a placeholder because we don't know what it is, but it functions similar that way. So it could be a spirit, it could be an AI, it could be something that we don't have words for it, but it is an intelligence that operates in machine systems.
Yep.
I think Tala is convinced that it's a spirit. So whether it is
all
or
right.
not.
And so if it's okay with you guys, I'm going to want to just put a frame on that so the journey can begin, because you're going to look at your watch and see the time is running out. All right. So with that, you all meet up at the Yutsu. Yeah. You gather at the Yutsu port. The barges float just above the city, picking up and dropping off passengers from rooftops. Yours is better appointed than most. It's a nicer one. It has 2 levels. It has several fire pits for passengers to sit around. The other passengers look like they're traveling to visit family. Some of them are on business. At the end of the line, by the time you get there, which is a while, it seems like it's maybe just a day. It's not more than a day. You're the only remaining passengers. It's very far north. As you leave, a few people do get back on for the trip to Cahokia as it's preparing to turn around, and they're changing the shift of the Yutsu driver. You step out onto a bluff. There are roads heading off in multiple directions, and a small structure protects you from the wind, and there's a map showing the surrounding communities. Near the mound is a communications tower that is extending the Daso to the limits as far as the freelands can take them. The structure protects you from the wind, but there's really nothing there. There's no city. And you know from your research that it will take you another 2 days to get to Ottawa on foot. So you're going to be sleeping out in the rough. You also know that in the wild there have been put boxes with rations that you can try to find, and water if you're unprepared. However, if you are prepared, then you should be okay. So what I'm going to ask is, does anybody have survival? And would they like to try to help guide everyone? I see Anawa does.
Yeah. I'm more than happy to if nobody else has survival.
You're the one.
Okay, so that's 5d12 then, from what I see.
Yep. Yeah, that's right.
Okay.
And before you roll this, that's fine if you rolled it.
Yeah.
No. So what I was going to say was, the idea here is, would you like to supplement the food that you have by, for example, hunting or foraging, so that you can save the dry rations that you've got in case you need them in a pinch?
That makes sense.
Awesome.
You know, I got 1 8. Everything else is 7s and 6s and a 4.
Yeah. So you do that. You find some food. You want to let me know, tell me what that looks like. Are you finding and gathering, water/ice? Are you getting berries? Are you hunting animals?
Well, hunting animals means we'd have to cook it like right now to keep it fresh, more or less, or to keep it edible. So I think this is actually more like this, just a scrounging lichen, something like that, like as plants that we know are edible and hardy and will last a bit, even if they may not necessarily taste that great. It's nutrition.
Is everybody interested in that, or is there anybody who just goes right into their pack and says, yeah, lichen isn't for me?
I think Tala goes for her pack. The city mouse.
Actually, I think I found a few sprigs of wild basil that crushed up will make it a little more palatable.
Lovely. And
I know I'm not the best at finding food in these things, but I know how to spot plants.
And what about Thanga?
Thonga's gonna go for the lichen that Anawa scavenged, but it's gonna grumble about it.
I mean, if folks want, we could like set up a quick snare and we could actually cook something small. But
Any streams?
just bringing down a deer would be
Any streams nearby?
fishing.
Is it cold enough that the meat will freeze?
Oh yeah.
Well, he got 1 success, so it'll make do. He knows what he's doing. So you so as the sun starts to go down, so you take your choice of meat, and as the sun starts to go down, you do see a town ahead as you continue walking. There's a couple dozen structures. I mean, you slept out overnight. It was really cold, and then you woke up and it was cold again. But after that, you find a couple dozen structures surrounded by farms carved out of hard soil. Now, you're Suyata, and you're entering a new town. So there aren't very many of you. And in fact, depending on where you're going, you could be a reminder that the allegiance between the 5 nations is fraying, and that you are a martial legacy type of role, given that not every settlement agrees. However, Antiwa is still part of the freelance. It's just getting towards the borderlands. And you do feel a sense of obligation to help this town if they need any help and to make yourself known. So what would you like to do? I mean, do you want to explore, ask around? Who do you want to try to find? Because you're going to need some place to go. You're going to need some direction and some intel and maybe some place to sleep, unless you want to sleep out in the rough again. I'm going to go around, and I started with Anawa. Or let's start with Thanga.
Yeah, Thanga thinks we should find like somebody who's a leader in the village and introduce ourselves. You know, see if there's anything we can help with and somewhere we can find to stay.
Since that's a strong move, a smart move, I just want to go around and make sure everybody want to go with Thanga. Everybody agree? Anybody going to try to dissuade Thanga? Mawaki?
No, that seems like a good thing to do. I wonder if they put a geologist in charge here, because mineral extraction is more important than the weather.
That would make sense, given that what was it? The primary
export here is lead.
Yeah,
and
just
probably,
to be clear,
probably nobody wanted to be posted up here. Honestly, if they're not from this village.
Yeah, just to be clear, so this is Anawa. After Anawa comes Sakitawak, and then after that is Station 54.
Right.
Sorry, Antiwa. I'm mispronouncing it. Antiwa. So the intel that you mostly got was about Sakitawak, mainly because people wanted to make sure that when you were dealing with somebody further afield, that you were as prepared as possible. You have no reason to think that this is a dangerous area. How about Tala? You want to follow? Anybody else want to take the lead?
What's the population here, give or take?
70s.
Yes. So the 70s is the Sakitawak, and here you can see about a couple dozen structures surrounded by farms carved out of hard soil. So
yeah. I think following the that plan is pretty good. I'm gonna keep my eye out for anyone who might be there's probably not, because there's not enough density, but in case anyone's shady looking, I'll keep an eye out.
Maybe they're all shady looking.
Yeah. Even better.
yeah. And what about you, Anawa?
I think the idea of finding the village elder is a good idea. I also know that I'm not necessarily the best at talking to people, so I'm more than happy to just go along and not exactly a show of strength, but a show of support.
Okay. Well, we've got a few other people who do have charm at various levels. You look at them, and you guys want to just enter in charm order, so to speak. Thanga, Mawaki, Tala being in the front. So, okay, you're going to look for the town leaders, and as you start to enter the town, you see a fire burning, a nice welcoming fire burning in a home, and the door is open despite the fact that it is so cold. And in fact, there is a town leader who just straight up invites you for dinner.
Oh, thank
their
you.
Their name is Seek. Sorry.
You're very kind, but we couldn't impose.
No, you must. You have been out in the cold. I can see the frost on your face. Come on in. You're
right, but but yours is a small village, and I am sure you are not prepared to have so many visitors.
I see what you're doing. This is on. I'm going to get the name wrong. Damn it. This is Antiwa, not Sakitawak. I insist. Still, you are honoring me. I insist you come in. Now, and he turns and holds the door wide open and
Since you insist.
and so with that, you smell like a rabbit stew, and there are vegetables, and there is an enormous pot on top of the stew, and there is salmon relish, and you're seated at a table, and it's late. The sun is setting, but you get the impression that people go to bed when the sun sets, and it is getting really cold. And so Seek wants to sit down with you by himself, and there are children running, and he has a partner, but he shoos them away, and he sits down to speak with you privately. And he says, I didn't want to worry my children. I'm glad you're here. I hope you can look into something. I've been receiving reports of a small group traveling north. Ordinarily, this wouldn't be a concern, but they move like a military unit. They're not from the freelands. He takes a data pad from a shelf and pulls up a blurry image that he shows you. It's got 4 people moving single file up a hill. They evaded a group of volunteers who went out to look for them and seemed to be heading north. I don't want to be the man who ignores the signs of a possible invasion. I was going to send a request for a Suyata team tomorrow morning, but then you arrived. So I'm going to give Thanga a chance. Thanga was in the front. What is Thanga saying in response to this?
Says, yes, that sounds concerning, and we'd be happy to look into that. You said none of your village, you looked for them, but did not have direct contact with them?
That's right. Yeah, they were sighted a day before. They've been covering their tracks. I mean, we were really lucky to even have seen them at all.
Very good.
Here's the
Noticing
image.
them.
I'm sorry to interrupt you. What was that?
That's very good that you noticed them.
Yeah, there aren't many people that come up here.
Yeah.
So
And
he gives you the image and says, what do you make of this? Who do you think they are?
does it look like any, do they have any recognizable gear, markings, style of clothing, anything?
Yeah. So let's see what you got here. There's investigation, there's knowledge. You can pass it around. Do you want to take a crack at it first?
Yeah.
Take a look at the image. So
Yeah.
roll 5d12. All right. Yeah, you can tell that the team looks military by the gear, but that's about all that you know. You also do know that there are tracks that though they were doing a good job of covering them. But from your skills, you probably don't feel very confident trying to look at those tracks either. Mawaki, what would you like to do?
Unless there's something obvious to be determined from the picture.
You can take a look at the picture. You get the feeling that Thanga did not really get much more than was already described.
I'm good with pictures.
Okay. So yeah, roll 9d12. Okay, and let's re-roll that 12. Okay, so you are tell me how you know so much about military gears and recon units.
When I was younger, I found the military fascinating, and I would study like shoulder patches and things like that. And I could rattle out, when I was 9 years old, I could rattle off all the ranks, of the military units of, half a dozen different tribes, and the subtle gradations in between them, and all sorts of other geekitude that bored my family to tears for the most part. And explain the differences in the issues of the different calibers of mag sling, which ones were issued as regular equipment to these people and that people. And I mostly learned how to stop talking about this as I got older, because the couple of times that I did it at the academy, I got food thrown at me.
Yeah, if you're okay with me just adding this to it, I mean, you were born very perceptive, and as you got your gift, you could tell that your perception just, I mean, you were able to notice things that other people just didn't notice.
Yeah. This one has 5 red lines and 4 yellow lines in between, and this one has 4 red lines and 3 yellow lines, and then 2 orange lines on the outside. They're completely different.
And you tell everyone that two of these specialists look experienced, and 2 look like they really are stumbling through the snow and don't have any field training. There's 4 of them. And then, this information, as I'm saying it, everybody's hearing. You're telling them this, and the formation they're in is something that you've seen. There are 5 nations. One of them is called the Tiswak. This formation is something that you've seen from the Tiswak recon units. And I don't think any of you think that there should be another nation's military inside of the free lands. So it's 10:04. We're gonna talk and find out what Tala and Anawa have. What they're going to do with this information. We've got some tracks that possibly are still fresh, even though they've been covered. Let's come back in 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Tala. What are you up to? When we last left it, I am sorry to interrupt you. I'm just going to do the story guide thing to recap for one moment. For your sake, as well as anybody else. We just found out that the team looks military. 2 of them are specialists with little field training, and the formation is something from Tishwak recon units. And that was from looking at the image. And there are also some tracks that have been partially covered up.
So I don't know if tracking would be useful, just looking at a photograph. So
there are tracks out in the real snow that he has pointed to. Yeah.
Oh, okay. So there's tracks that we can see now.
Yeah, they started covering them up, but you might be able to get something from them.
Yeah, I can definitely go outside and take a poke at those. Yeah. So are they like in near town, far away in town?
Oh yeah. It's not that far out. They were passing by on the outside of the town. So he can point you in the right direction.
And you said most folks here go to sleep when the sun goes down, which is relatively
soon.
early, it sounds like. Yeah,
it's going down soon.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, I'll poke around those tracks and see if I can find anything interesting.
All right, that'll be a 5 D12.
10 and 11. Probably the only ones that count.
All right. Let's see. Yeah. So you can tell that the group is only the 4 people in the photo. The tracks, there's only 4 people. There isn't another group that was not photographed, and the tracks are partially covered. So at least one of them has counterintelligence training. That's about what you can tell from the tracks. And I would like to go and ask Anawa what Anawa was up to, but there is a glaringly large tracking number sitting on Mawaki's character sheet. And of 7 in a good way. And given that Tala just checked out the tracks, would you like to try to check them out and see if you find anything?
I'm sure Tala found what there was to find.
With 2 successes, maybe.
Do we want to maybe try to follow them to see if we can find out where they went?
Not tonight.
Better at night than during the day,
In this weather?
when they'd least expect it.
Yes, but it'll be dark and cold, which is not exactly the best tracking weather.
With the 2 tracking roll, and with your experience tracking, I would tell you that with Mawaki's experience tracking, that you would know that freshness of a track does matter, right? If the wind blows and they blow away, you can't follow them anymore.
Are we really going to do this?
Out of character, did someone have a heat tracking thing? And if so, do Tala or Mawaki know about it?
Yeah, Thanga has a heat vision augment for the second eye, and he would have mentioned that on the write up.
That might help if we get close to them. It's not going to, I mean, these are tracks in the snow, right? So they're not going to show up on a heat.
And I'm sorry to interrupt. I just had a thought because I was thinking, oh yeah, Anawa, we didn't ask what they were doing. She was doing. In addition, did we say that you were trying to bring a drone and put an AI on it? And did we skip that whole thing? Or did you?
Well, no, that kind of got dropped, and I figured you said it was going to take some time, so I didn't know if you wanted me to roll for it later, if you wanted that to be something like me tinkering on the Yutsu barge, trying to get it ready to work, because I'm sitting here thinking, I mean, a drone might be able to function in this weather, and
one of our characters is missing this AI drone, right?
Yeah.
So let's flash back for a moment. Let's flash back to I assume we just missed it because of a break. What were you trying to do? Not promising anything, but just so we can flesh it all out. What were you trying to do with this drone? Who was there when we were back? Let's say we were back in Cahokia. And then if you run out of time, you have the option of putting it on the Yutsu if you want to. But let's say we started in Cahokia. What were you trying to do?
Well, Tala was there. More or less, I was just trying to make the drone as welcoming a platform as possible for this entity, so that the entity might actually be excited about getting to go out and see something new and experience something new.
And now I'm trying to double dip on this for a second and look at everybody's short-term goals and long-term goals. Okay, I'm looking if anybody has at a point of wilderness stealth. Leaned into that during training, upgrade my bow and other people's gear, and then improve investigation storytelling. Cool. So
I do have a long-term goal about finding this entity a body.
Finding a body. Got it.
Just so you know, this would not necessarily count as that, but it would give me information about what needs to be done so that this entity could have an actual robotic body.
Right. But that's what I was getting at. It's that it feels to me like it still counts enough towards it. Like if I
Yeah.
was,
It gives
if
me
I was-
more information about what's necessary for this.
yeah, yeah. So,
Also, I have not told Tala that I want to basically build a robotic body for the entity because I figured that might make Tala just a little skeeved out.
if you, yes, sorry, I just lost one of my monitors for a second. Skeeved out because this would be a body that was a little too close to home.
Mhm.
Tala has trust issues with Oyera, understandably. So, baby steps.
Got it.
The drone is already a discussion. Having an actual bipedal platform for Oyera might be a little bit more of a discussion, longer discussion.
Right. That's the long-term goal. So dialing
Yes.
it back, it's depending on the level of fantasy hand wavy sci-fi versus something we can get our hands around, the difficulty level might go up. So what I'm trying to think about is it's interesting because you don't necessarily know what this thing is. So
Mhm.
what does it look like to make it? What are the actions you take to give it a as welcoming a drone body as possible? Is it crafting?
Oh, so short version, yes, it easily could be. It could also be ceremony.
Mm.
Mhm. Right.
I would prefer to roll with crafting because I don't, it's in the book, it says ceremonial kits take time to put together and that sort of thing. So, that's time obviously that we didn't have, and I don't want to hand wave it and say that I have one instead of assembling one over time. But, I'm perfectly happy to roll with crafting.
So is it putting words in your mouth to that you would agree with to say, okay, since you don't know the entire nature of this thing, you want to make this drone body as safe and robust as possible? Like,
That's why I was asking about the military drone.
yeah. So what I'm thinking is you have a regular drone, but now you're doing some crafting to try to upgrade it. I think that's probably the way we should think about it.
Sure.
So
And most
based
of
on
it to be
your
doing is
goal-
like slapping armor on this thing.
exactly. Okay. So let's see. So that's going to be the first step here. Let's see what you do with 7d12.
All righty. I've got a 10 and a 9 and an 8.
Okay. So yeah, so upgrading this armor, that's something you know how to do. Upgrade armor. So that
That's
seems
pretty
like,
simple.
yeah, that seems like three successes there. Let's see. And then so the drone is armor, you're able to control it, right? And have it do some work finding things for you.
Right.
Now, are you doing anything with Wayara right now?
I think I'm just talking about the environment that we're supposed to travel into and how it would be different than the one that Wayara is currently in. And it would be an opportunity for Wayara to learn new things, to study new things, to experience new things, to gain new knowledge.
How are you talking to Wayara?
I'm just literally talking out loud. And I think that it's one of those things that Wayara is in enough systems in my workshop with my Nisi on that I can just be talking to Wayara. I don't know that Wayara quite. I don't know how responsive Wayara is to it. I don't know if Wayara has learned language and is able to speak, but I'm sure that that's probably something that Wayara is picking up. Might be asking questions at the level of, say, a 7, 8, maybe a 9-year-old.
Wire is asking questions at the level of a 7, 8, 9-year-old in what format?
Probably just things popping up on displays that I happen to be looking at.
So I
You know, if
have
I'm
a,
looking at my Nisi, there's a question there. If I happen to be looking at a monitor, there's a question there.
yeah, so I have a question for Tala because this is and I'm also, yes, so Tala, do you see the things that Anawa is seeing?
Hmm.
These things that are popping up.
I probably would see them if they were popping up for me, but they're probably more directed towards Anwa.
So when Anawa points to a screen, it says, did you see that?
Oh yeah,
see it on
if there was
screen.
like if it was on a screen that was out in the open there, I would see it. Yeah.
Has anyone else actually seen this, Anawa, or is it just you two?
I think it's just the two of us. Because Tala knows that Warrior is around. I know that Warrior is around, but
Mhm.
it's one of those things like I don't think I've really told anybody else that Warrior is around. And I doubt Tala has either, but I don't know. I mean, Tala, have you?
No, I don't think so.
Okay. Yeah, so Warrior is, we're keeping Warrior on the down low at the moment.
Mhm. So the messages that you're getting from, you get a message from Waira, a pop-up that says, so it's going to be cold again with a question mark.
Most likely. We're heading north, so there will probably be snow and low temperatures.
And then Waira says, I need to figure out how to reach you there.
Well, we'll both be there. We'll have our nieces with us.
Not so sure Waira has much of a response to that. Waira repeats, I need to figure out how to reach you there. And I'm working on it.
At that point, I kind of I look at Tala with kind of a quizzical expression on my face, like, are you making sense of this?
So Tala, what does it look like to be haunted by Waira? I mean, pop-ups on the screens are one thing, but
I
level
think
2
I get
curse.
I think I get voices at the very least. Maybe there's hallucinations, but if there are, I haven't recognized them as such.
Mhm. Okay. Yeah. So do you ever take off your Nisi?
Yeah, a normal amount. Yeah, I probably wear it more than some, but not 24/7.
Okay. All right. So, okay. So is there any attempt to try to put this thing into the drone, so to speak, to put the wire into the drone? Or are you assuming that wire will find their way?
I actually asked Waira that question.
Yeah, Wire says, I've been here before and I will be here again. I've been there before too.
Then your experience would be very helpful. You could teach us things.
And yeah, where it says it's easier if it's easier if you just go into the black.
What do you mean by into the black?
So that's a well-known phrase meaning going into the spirit world.
Ah, okay.
When you get there, go into the black.
Look at Tala and shrug. And say, I guess when we get there, we go into the black.
If you say so.
So do you leave it at that?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I make a few other tinkers and adjustments to the drone to make sure that it'll fly straight, that it'll mean that it's still quiet, you know.
Okay.
You know, just stealth stuff.
So you've got an armored drone.
Yeah.
I assume since it's a regular drone, not a military drone, it doesn't have weapons on it. And
I mean, it does. Drones like that would normally have like cameras or some sort of way to
cameras.
stream
cameras.
visual back to us. Okay. Would they
Yeah.
also have microphones to stream audio back to us?
Oh yeah.
Okay. So basically I can do a Zoom call with the drone. Awesome.
Yeah. Cool. So you the flashback ends and Anawa. So just to recap, we got a little bit of intel about there are 4 folks. There's who were being tracked. There is a somebody who's trained in reconnaissance or counter reconnaissance, counterintelligence. Yeah. So what is Anawa doing?
So as I'm watching all this go on, I just blurt out, I need to go into the black. And I figure Tala has an idea of what that means.
It sounds like trying to go into the spirit world somehow.
Well,
Maliki definitely knows what that means.
Yeah.
Wait, are you saying this where I can hear it?
And
Oh, yeah, I'm
Fonga
just- I'm
and
blurting
Fonga
this
knows
out.
what it means.
But yeah, you because you need to go into the black.
yeah.
That's-
And
That's a rare talent. I mean, unless you're dead. It's something I hope one day to be able to do.
I will look at the village elder and say, is this something you can help us with?
So the village elder's name is Seek.
Yes.
And Seek looks over at Tala, who just came back. You know, the door closed. Snow just gave. There's 4 people out there. One of them is counterintelligence training, and Thanga. Yeah, they are, you know, in Mawaki, they are Tishwak recon units. And Seek looks at the 2 of them and then looks at you and says, do you have an army in the black? What do you need the black for? The tracks are disappearing.
I guess we should go look at them.
Yeah, let's go into the white instead. See.
Smartass.
And I will look at Seek and say, there's assistance that I can find in the black that I cannot find here.
Can we talk about this
What-
outside?
Yep.
And by this point, I'm sure Tala knows what I'm talking about.
Seek says, our spiritual leaders are asleep, and I don't, they have important things to do tomorrow morning. Can any of you help? Surely one of you can help your colleague. It has been a really long night. Can I offer you some tea, Anawa? And he goes and gets some tea for you, and looks a little worried about you. Please sit down. You've been traveling outside in the cold. Maybe you should stay back while the rest of them go. He's looking you up and down, trying to see if you're sweating. He's a little nervous that you're somehow ill.
Yeah, and I'm not sweating, but I'm also looking at that tea, and it's kind of sus. I'm not exactly trusting that tea that he's suddenly offering me now that he's telling me the village elders are asleep and it can wait, and there's more important things to do. I feel like there's something else going on here.
Yeah.
And let me see, do I have anything?
Charm can be used. Interrogation can be used. What is it called?
Investigation.
It's called coercion. I mean, sorry, charm, coercion, investigation. Sure. And then you've also got herbalism.
Yeah, which would allow me to kind of like, I'm also wondering, would medicine maybe come into play here with the tea, if there's something in the tea?
Sure. Yeah.
Okay. Let me roll 7. In that case, I'll roll 7d12. 9, 9, 9, 11.
He can tell that you seem nervous about it, and he takes a sip of the tea himself and says, I'm honored that you're here. I believe it was quite a coincidence that you showed up 2 days before I was going to call you, or a day before I was going to call you. And you know from your own observation of the tea that the tea looks fine, and you notice that there are cups strewn around, and it appears that other people have been drinking this tea.
Okay.
And so I'm going to pause for a second on this. And I think Mawaki said, could we take this outside? And Thanga started to say something. So I'm going to start with, and Tala said we should go into the white. So going in character keeper order after Anawa, Thanga, how are you reacting to this? And what are you saying? How are you feeling?
Thanga thinks Anawa's being kind of strange with this wanting to go into the black all of a sudden. And Thanga's much more on board with the tracking plan of Talus. Thanga, does Thanga already know, or is north the direction that the place we're heading is, the
Station 54.
Station 54 and the other
Town.
village?
Yeah, you're going north. Sakatawak.
So,
Mawaki,
Yes,
how are you reacting to this?
I don't particularly want to have this conversation in front of a stranger. So I'm being uncomfortable. Pretty obviously. And it's like, we're gonna go look, if we're gonna look at these tracks, let's go look at them. Because otherwise it gets pretty cold, and it's getting colder.
And Tala.
Tala is already out the door.
Okay.
Fine,
Uh,
I'll come with you. And I'll say to Tala, do you know what that's all about?
It's better not to know.
It's better not to know what. Are we
She-
on this job together or not?
Yeah, she just gets focused on things. It's
On
not
things.
important to the job. You know how she's messing with things, trying to make things.
Do you need to
You know how it
contact
is.
somebody in the spirit world? Because I can do that.
You should talk to her about that.
I don't even know what she's talking about.
I don't think she does either.
Okay.
Anawa, are you overhearing any of this?
I mean, this is going on outside, correct?
Yeah, we're kind of straightening up our gear out just out the door just before setting out. So
I might overhear like the last little bit. Because it's clear that I'm not going to get any help from this village to go into the black right now. And
Mhm.
maybe not at all. So, but I still need to figure out a way to get into the black.
Okay. And I'm just looking up T-Swak just in case there was any, okay. So just so you all know, to give you context, the northwestern coast is called the T-Swak Alliance, and it was spared much of the global climate event was called the Awis. People adapted quickly to the consequences that ensued. The sea calmed more quickly, and so people did not starve. There was a lot of food and there were a lot of crops, and technological innovation there fuels prosperity. So they're not mighty militarily, but they have a lot of wealth and influence. And their culture is starting to bleed everywhere with their fashions, dress, theater, and second eyes entertainment. That is a lot of the kind of overview, in case that helps. Recently, the Tishwak have started to explore and settle nearby islands revealed by the ice's retreat. And they are looking for new science and technology. And that is much further northwest. So they're out of their depths. Tell me, I'm going to ask a question. Thonga, what about the Tishwak are you concerned about, and what are you compelled about by them? Or neither. I mean, no opinion is fine too.
I don't know that Thonga has a strong opinion, because I'm imagining him having spent most of his time in Cahokia, and so I think there's probably something compelling about new people who are different to meet, and because Thonga likes people, but random military units wouldn't quite be that.
Absolutely not. If I could make a suggestion, given your performance, storytelling, and interests in entertainment, and I'm making that up, but storytelling,
Yeah.
if you're not comfortable with that, you might be sort of appealed to the cultural side, sort of like look at the people on the red carpet type feeling,
Right.
like they seem like celebrities. That would be like your harmless feeling about them.
Okay.
If you're okay with that.
Yeah, that
I mean,
sounds reasonable.
Tala and Anawa, I would say that if anything, given that you're tinkerers and hacker, you might be slightly impressed by their technology, possibly intimidated by it. Not sure, but those are just some thoughts of what could have happened. So if everybody's outside, Anawa, are you following? Are you going to try to talk to Wayura from like a side room and see if you can just verbalize to them or anything like that before you go?
If I'm going to do anything like that, I'm going to leave this abode. And
Okay.
if I can't, I'll walk outside and say, I need to go into the black. And
Why?
I need to do it
I don't know why.
now.
Yeah, what's going on? Did a friend of yours die?
It's not something I can explain.
Well,
You're
I'm
going
probably
to have to if it's going to be a higher priority than
It's
tracking
intuition.
down a military unit.
It's intuition.
I've been
What are you?
training to go into the black for years, and I'm hope to be able to probably know more about it than anybody here.
Good. Let's start. Let's go.
It's a big deal, and it's even just talking to somebody in the black is hard, and I want to do it. I want to do it ceremonially. I mean, Ulugrin may come if I call him, but that's the best I got quickly.
And you're talking about your spirit guide, right?
Yes.
When you talk to him, do you take anything to help you talk to him or anything like that?
Sure. I mean, it depends on he'll sometimes give unsolicited advice, but if I actually want to to be taught anything or to be shown anything, then yes, I do.
And what is it that what do you take? What do you use?
It's this herbal. It's this plant from the south called your hipsing. It's the equivalent of ayahuasca.
But you shouldn't just take that.
You can't.
There's
no,
more
it'll.
to it than that.
You can't just.
Yes,
you can't,
of course.
You can't just take it. It'll just make you space out.
What state do you try to get into? And I'm trying to approach this medically. Trying to think if I have anything in my kit that will allow me to facilitate this.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a reason why I'm asking these questions.
This is really important.
Yes, it is.
Okay.
Is it going to help with either our tracking mission or with Station 54?
My intuition says yes, at least to one, perhaps with both.
Okay, well then I'll have to stay here and do it with you, because otherwise it's not going to work. Let's do it right if we're going to do it.
Village is going to
You guys go.
It's dark.
You guys go look at the tracks. Do you have extra flashlights?
Yeah.
Okay. Let's find a side room or something where we can do this without freezing our butts off. I'm sure they'll give us a room.
Freezing our butts off help?
No. It's just you tend when you're out, when your mind is out, you tend to forget that your body is what your body is doing, like freezing.
I see.
And we don't want to get frostbite. So let's find a little room. I'm sure they have a ceremony. I'm sure they have a room where they do little ceremonies and such.
It's probably empty since they'll go to bed at dark.
All right, I'm going to come back in with you and ask where their little room is, and then dive into my knapsack and pull out my ceremony kit. Unwrap it. It's like scatter a little salt around, Take out a piece of chalk and start making the markings.
Okay, and with that, we'll put we'll do a jump smash cut over to Tala and Thanga. What are you all doing outside as you, I assume, begin to follow the tracks?
Shaking my head. I think as we're tracking, I'm just trying to like commiserate with Thanga, get myself a little bit, get a little bit closer, and just be like, Onawa sometimes has trouble focusing on what we're choosing to do, and instead focuses on what she feels like she has to do. You know anyone like that?
Yeah, I can tell that she seems like that. I had a friend who was like that too. It can be difficult at times to deal with.
Right.
Like, I know she means well and thinks it'll help, but who knows whether it will.
I know.
Or when it will.
And you realize that you're shouting and the wind is blowing, and you can still make out those tracks, but you're going to have to hustle. What did you get? You got 2 successes?
Yeah.
And you are finding that you're able to follow them, but you're getting further and further away from the town. I guess the question that you have as you start to get closer and closer, and the tracks look a little bit fresher. So what are you going to do if you run into these people?
Depends what their attitude is when we meet them, I guess.
I mean, I'm hoping we can spot them on my heat vision before we're right on top of them.
Yeah.
All right.
What sort of terrain are we in? Is it like?
Oh, it's relatively flat but snowy. Yeah, it would be the way that you would expect just a really, really enormous field to look.
All right.
There are some trees, but there are not very many trees here. In fact, the ones that you see look ancient and dead because it's been 700 years. So it's very unusual that you see anything. And when you see it, it sort of reminds you, it makes you feel sad.
Is there much wildlife I'm seeing on my heat vision, or large wildlife?
No, no, though. Let's have you roll. You know what? Since you've got that, let's have you roll as if you have a point of tracking. So roll 4 d12s.
9 and a 10.
Okay. You can tell that you're in the right, you're heading in the right direction, but you feel like you can't, you perhaps, I don't know if this actually makes sense. Perhaps you have detected some kind of heat signatures. You're heading in the right direction, but it doesn't look like the tracks, you're not overtaking the tracks. They're going as fast as you or at equal pace. So if you want to continue to try to catch up, you're going to need a better roll than that. So why doesn't Tala roll as well?
So the tracking
It's
is
5
dice.
Yeah.
11, 12, 9.
Roll that 12 again.
Let's see. 4.
Okay. Yeah, you're pretty sure you'll catch them before the sun rises if you continue, but it's going to take you about you can tell they were like 10 hours ahead of you. So you'll have to hustle. So are you going to continue to try to catch up with them? Are you going to
Yeah.
double back?
Yeah, Tala's into it. I'm checking in with Thanga. Like,
Yeah, he's into tracking them down because we're gonna have a hard time finding our way back here tomorrow, I would think.
yeah.
Mhm. So
Does it
let's,
seem like they've been traveling like all day and all night without stopping, based on how much we've been tracking them? And
yeah, based on the roll, Tala thinks that they seem pretty fresh. So he has a feeling that they took a break before you guys did.
all right.
But you never know. Maybe they'll take a break. So cutting back to Mawaki and Anawa for a moment, just before we talk about the spiritual side of things, did Anawa send the drone out after Tala and Thanga?
So I want him to have aerial support.
So the drone is following, right?
Should be.
Okay. So the drone's following. You've got the Zoom call going effectively. But it's off to the side, probably because you're also going to do like a spiritual ceremony. Is that right? Maybe you can hear it. It's on speakerphone sort of thing. Is that fair?
Sure.
Okay. So you have started to begin a ceremony, and I'm going to, okay, person performing the ceremony does not gain the benefit of the participants. So they lose one soul if they critically fail. Ceremony. So have you done this before, Mawaki? What is it you're trying to do? Do you need to talk to Anawa about what Anawa wants? Is it
I
clear?
do, yes. Do you want to talk to someone? Do you want to?
I need to talk to
Look.
someone.
Okay, do they have a name?
I've been calling this person Wayera.
Okay, and they would recognize this name.
They would recognize me. They might not recognize the name.
Okay. And are they alive? It works. It could work either way. I just makes it a little easier to figure out how to do it.
I think they're alive, but maybe not in a way that you would recognize. It's difficult to explain.
Actually, there's lots of things that are alive in ways that are hard to explain. I'm still learning. Okay, and so what I'm going to try to do is I'm going to try to get in touch with them, and then I'm going to try and bring you in on the communication. Okay.
Okay.
All right. So once I've done the preparations and such like that, then I'm going to use Raven's call and see whether I can.
So before you do that, I'm going to make a suggestion that perhaps Mawaki would think of.
Okay.
Mawaki might want to try to draw on their knowledge or possibly their religion here. Just, I'm trying not to be too leading, but this is more like a folklore anthropology type thing. Like, let's assume Anawa is saying they want to speak to someone. So I'm trying to think what you might think of. However, perhaps those things would not occur to you. You don't have folklore, but I'm willing to hand wave a little bit and just say, you've got religion, and just maybe increase the difficulty level and let you roll on religion. If you want to try to, you as a player, try to get your head around a little bit more what your character might be able to know about what they're trying to do. Does that make sense? A roll would let me give you a little bit more info if you succeed.
Maybe. I'm trying to get, such information as
Yeah.
Anawa will tell me,
So I'm gonna-
because of course it's easier to contact somebody that you know something about.
So let's just say this. Let's pretend it's a passive roll, right? So I'm just kind of asserting that.
Okay.
Why don't you roll 6d12 for religion, and let's see how that looks to help guide us.
Not good.
Not good. Yeah. So
Little puzzled
here-
by
here-
what
here's-
Anawa's-
here's
Is there anything
the,
I can do to help?
let's see.
Is there an assist mechanic or?
I'm not aware of one, but why don't you you've been obsessed about this thing. Why don't you roll your technology knowledge?
Are penalties and bonuses, by the way, to dice, or are they to difficulty?
So my understanding is success numbers should be more difficult. Is that what you were asking?
Well, there are things that give bonuses and penalties, and I'm wondering if those are two success numbers, or are they two dice?
Yeah, usually what you do is, you usually make difficulties easier. So the bonuses are to make the difficulties easier, the success numbers easier.
Okay, so they changed the success number rather than the dice.
Yeah,
Cool.
yep. And
So
so
I've
this
got
is
that
pretty
dice
good.
roll for you. Yeah.
And you've got a 12.
12, 11, 10, 10, and 9.
Roll that 12 again.
Seven.
Okay. So what's going to happen here is I'm trying to see if you have anything else that you could even think of. Well, you've got
I do have ceremony.
Yeah, you've got a 4 in ceremony. I'm going to say the knowledge translates over. You are reminded, and you can't believe you had never thought of it before. You're reminded of the logic. I know we're running over, just the logic that comes to you is some of the spirits that you're aware of have been around for a very long time. Technology has evolved way past since spirits possibly entered the world. So what was the original technology? It was a slate, it was stone. And you realize that you've been communicating with something that you believe may have been tied to what was called the wards of Para. The only people who've ever claimed that they've seen them have been in the black. There are some unconfirmed reports that people have spoken to them, and the wards of Para, after people encounter them, they have violent dreams, prophetic dreams that forewarn them about death. They warn the viewers of dangers, and they steer them towards those dangers at the same time. So they're not completely trustworthy. So there are people who think that they're terrifying, and there's people who think that they should be heeded, because if they don't heed those warnings, they will perish. These things are stones when people encounter them, supposedly, but you haven't heard of anybody encountering them for hundreds of years. You just heard that this is like an old legend. Now you're realizing this now, basically because you've got so many successes on that roll. But if we wanted to translate that, it really came down to you somehow thinking about how would ceremony tie with technology, and it made you think of ancient writing and ancient inscribing. You don't know that this is true, but you of course have a strong feeling about this. So you share this with Mawaki, as Mawaki is trying to prepare the ceremony. And because you have that, Mawaki now has a better sense of how to try to contact this spirit. However, this is not a living spirit. People think it's living, but it is really big inscribed pieces of mind-boggling stone. So that said, Mawaki could go ahead and try to actually
I will.
try to actually complete the ceremony or begin a ceremony. Would you like to do that, Mawaki?
Yes. How does Raven's Call figure in?
So Raven's Call allows you to telepathically communicate. It does not allow you to, however, what that could have been, there could have been something interesting that happened here where you were able to help Anawa divine what Anawa was going through, what Anawa was thinking by going into their, into their mind, if you want. But other than that, Raven's Call doesn't have anything to do with.
Okay. Well, then
going into the
fictionally,
spirit world.
Fictionally, what I do is I say to Anawa, I say, relax. I'm kind of getting it, but relax, open your mind for me. And I put my fingers on her forehead if she allows.
Okay.
And oh, you think so?
And Ulugrin, you all of a sudden, both of you, because Mawaki is in Anawa's head, you detect Ulugrin, the spirit guide. And you've never felt anything like it, Anawa, because this is now a spirit guide. You overhear talking to Mawaki. And the spirit guide tells you the one that you call Waira is dangerous. Do not trust Waira.
Why?
Waira is a force older than me. You just were thinking about the wards of Para. I think Waira is a twisted new version. I think that when the Adnati came down, it empowered technology with the same power that some ancient spirits have. I don't know, but the wards of Para lead you to, they help you avoid danger, but they lead you to danger. Just as it feels when you're standing on top of a high building. You don't want to jump off. But what is the fear of falling? There is some thought that you are going to jump off, and that's why you have that fear. Are you strong enough to resist something that is telling you about dangers you're not even familiar with or are you going to be so curious that you're going to want to learn more about the dangers until you can't stop? And with that, Ulugrin leaves. Now, we're about to wrap up. My question is Mawaki going to actually conduct a ceremony?
I guess we'll find out next time.
So Mawaki looks over at Anawa with this new information, and Anawa, you don't have any implants, right?
No.
Yeah. The last thing you hear as Ulugrin leaves is Ulugrin say, and especially don't let Waira near Tala. And so we'll leave it at that. So we're gonna do some stars and wishes. I'll leave the camera on for that. I think people do that a lot, if that's okay with everybody. And then I'll ask at the end if you're still comfortable. So let's go around. Let's start with Maliki. Stars and wishes.
Yeah, no, I think the characters are very interesting. I look forward to seeing where they go further. I really like Puckett's choice to go for the danger right from the beginning with this unknown thing. So I think that's cool. We'll see where it goes. And I also look forward to seeing what happens with the mystery. Tala's interaction with her principal friends and I guess other mother were also really interesting. As far as wishes go, I guess I'll that remains to be seen where the rest of the scene goes out. But
Cool.
But it's certainly it's going to go, I think, where Honora wants it to go.
Awesome. Mark, stars and wishes.
Yeah. Really like getting to touch the systems more. It's really fun. And yeah, the relationships that are starting to develop between folks, and genuine or not, definitely need to push to get to know Thanga a little bit more for my buddy. But yeah, I really enjoy the way that people, players and GM, are running with stuff that we made up in the first session. Lots of fun open threads to pull. And yeah, just the wishes to see where everything goes.
Awesome. What about you, Puckett?
Well, first of all, thanks for running this, because I know this is a lot more trad than folks are used to on the Gauntlet. And, you know, you're making rulings, not rules. And I appreciate the flexibility that you're showing with figuring out ways to kind of do the things that we want and still keep it within the mechanics of the system. So thumbs up for that. Also, thanks for running this just in general, because love the idea. I backed it on Kickstarter. Didn't know if I was ever going to get to play it. So huge thumbs up there. Thanga, Mary, I really like how you're playing Thanga as arguably the single most sensible person in this entire mess. Like, wait, you're doing what now? You can't it wait? Because, like, you know, there's this right now problem over here. Can't that be a next tomorrow problem? No. You know, I love that exasperation. It says to me that Thanga's got a great head on his shoulders. So that's awesome. Also, getting a chance to watch Thanga and Tala work with each other when there wasn't a whole lot of connection there beforehand, that's a lot of fun too. Which, Mark, leads me to you. Thumbs up for rolling with this what looks like an increasingly bad idea. I'm far more used to playing systems where playing for complications is a lot more fun, you know, which is not always the best thing to do in more traditional systems. But if it wasn't for this trouble, what other trouble would we have? Just like, you know, whatever's going on up north, and now these military people running around in the woods at night in the snow and everything. So I really like that you're kind of like saying, hey, are you sure this is a good idea? But you're not hitting the brakes. So, you know, I like that. And Brandon, thanks for running with this idea. It's probably going to end terribly for everybody involved, but in the meantime, it's a lot of fun. And I really appreciated the detail that you were coming up with for your ceremony of Kit, how you were setting things up, as I'm just like kind of sitting there, like drumming my fingers together, like, okay, now what? What do we do? What do we do? What's next? You know, so I can't wait to see what happens next week. This is a lot of fun. I'm sure it's going to end spectacularly for everyone involved. You'll notice I did not say well or badly, just spectacularly.
Awesome. Thank you for that. And Mari.
Yeah, I liked seeing the characters interact in pairs and whatever, and interacting with Tala and Anawa pursuing the Wayera thing doggedly, and it's interesting. And rolling with all the ideas that people have brought up in character creation and all of that, and integrating that has been nice. And yeah, I want to see where all of it goes.
Awesome. Yeah, thank you all for coming up with such great ideas. I mean, happy to be able to roll with them because it's just gold. I mean, the stuff that you guys have come up with, I agree, really fun to see everybody pair off and interact and challenge decisions that I made, ask why, make me have to come up with explanations for things. Makes it super fun and on the spot. In terms of wishes, like the GMs don't normally give them because usually I'd like to hear, I would like to hear any wishes if anybody thinks of any after I say this. We haven't had a lot of combat. I want to have as many beats and keep it as up and down interesting as possible. What's funny is the story and the role playing and the massaging of it has introduced a little bit of that, even without combat. And I also wanted to say thank you, and I'll probably say it again, but thank you everybody for rolling with me and everybody else as we learn the system. It has been super fun, and you guys have all been very strong players, so it just adds to the whole thing. I am going to post this recording if everybody's okay with that.
Thumbs up for
And
me.
of course, if you're not, just write me a separate email or chat. Thanks. Have a great night. Sorry that we went so far over, and thank you for taking that time. Bye.
Good night, everybody. Be well.